Will Hearts stay top of the table after this weekend? There's a 6-pointer at the bottom, and there is a massive match in the race for Europe. I'm Charlotte Cohen, and alongside Joelle Murray and Cammy Bell, we're diving into all of this weekend's action. Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Friday the 20th of March. And it's the weekend preview.
I don't want to talk about regrets because it's like as if it's going to end up in disappointment. I fully believe we are going to have a special end of the season.
Will Hearts stay top of the table as all three title chasers face tough tests? And if it's tough at the top, it is even tougher at the bottom.
It's going to be a really tough game. We know what's at stake. It's a huge 3 points if we can win the game.
The players know exactly what we need from them, know exactly what we expect from them, and ultimately we go out there at 3 o'clock on Saturday, we need to achieve that.
Kilmarnock and Livingston face off in what could be massive in the relegation battle. And Motherwell face Hibs with both sides chasing Europe.
Tuan Damaswini, I think he scored a lot of his penalties. It's in the bottom corner. Goal, 3-2 Hibs. Wow.
We've got everything you need to know about this weekend right here.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
And alongside me to talk all things Premiership this weekend, Joelle Murray, Hibs women head coach. Joelle, morning. Which game are you most looking forward to this weekend?
Good morning, Charlotte. I think the one I'm looking forward to is the Motherwell Hibernian fixture, of course.
Of course. And alongside us this morning, Cammy Bell, former goalkeeper. Cammy, morning. Which game are you most looking forward to this weekend?
Morning, Charlotte. There's a number of games that are really tasty this weekend. I think you've got to look at Rangers Aberdeen later on this Saturday. I think that'll be a tasty affair.
Well, let's start with the leaders' Hearts because they host Dundee. Joel, this is shaping up to be a pretty interesting one. Hearts have kind of started to have a little bit of a wobble. Dundee, very much the opposite. They seem to be finding some serious form now. I mean, there's a lot of talk of pressure around Hearts. There's been talk of pressure around Hearts for months now, but do you think it's maybe finally starting to show on them?
I don't know. I think it would be kind of crazy for them to kind of go the length and do it if they're going to do it without having some sort of wobble. I think for them, you can look at their kind of home strength. They've been extremely strong at home. I think remaining unbeaten at Tynecastle this season. But then you've got a Dundee team who probably despite their position, they're having a little bit of a resurgence in their season. They're coming good at probably the perfect time for them. I think they're currently on a 5-game unbeaten run. So they will be going to Tynecastle, which of course just spoke about a little bit of a fortress this season, but they will be going as one of the formed teams in the league with players like Simon Murray coming back in amongst the goals, Cammy Congreve, assisting scoring, and Tony Gann, a very, very good, creative and clinical forward line on their day. So I think it will be an interesting one. Hearts obviously looking at potentially having Shankland and Devlin back in the matchday squad, which for them is massive. They came out of the squad at a time where they were absolutely key players for them. So we're talking about Dundee's form picking up at the right time. Hearts have got key players coming back at the right time.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Cammy. I mean, you look at Hearts, they could have both Cammy Devlin and Lawrence Shankland back in the squad this weekend. They're both been back in training this week. I mean, even just having them back in and around it must be a massive boost to Derek McInnes and the rest of the Hearts team.
Yeah, it certainly will. Listen, having them guys in and around the squad, the matchday squad, and available if needed, then it's a huge boost for Derek McInnes. I was at the game last Saturday night against Kilmarnock, and Hearts were hugely disappointed. It was the first time I'd seen them live this season, and I really looked at them and I was doing it with Alan Preston. I actually asked Alan Preston, is this the worst Hearts have been? And he certainly said, yes, this is the worst they've been. Because I looked at them and certainly didn't look like a team that was going to win the title for me. They were so far off it. Kilmarnock fully deserved it. Kilmarnock need to take a bit of credit for that. But I just looked at Hearts and it looked as if something was missing last Saturday. And it was the first time when I asked Alan, he said, it's the first time I've seen them play like this. So is it pressure? Listen, we'll soon find out, because they're going to feel pressure between now and the end of the season. If they want to win the title, then they're going to have to handle that. And I think they've got a manager in place that can do it. But again, these players haven't been in this territory before, so they don't know what it's going to feel like week in, week out, having to win the games. You can't afford to draw. You can't afford to lose a game, because the other two teams will be on your tail. So I think it's very intriguing. It's great that they've got them two guys back, but we don't know how long it's going to take Cammy Devlin and Lawrence Shankland to get up to speed as well. So that could be a concern. But yeah, listen, this is a big pig match and a difficult one, because I think Dundee are a really good team at this time.
Yeah, I mean, Cammy talks about the pressure, Joelle. We've seen them handle pressure before, but I suppose we've never seen them handle pressure whereby they could, come the end of the weekend, potentially not be top of the league for the first time since September, October.
Yeah, and I think it's exactly what Cammy said. It's the resilience is massive. I can imagine there's players that have that internal pressure putting on themselves, as well as that external pressure. So yeah, it's a big test of the club as a whole, but players' characters, because I can relate back to where we were last season, and it's sleepless nights thinking, what ifs, can we do it? Think about all the permutations. But I think at the end of the day, what I would always come back to is controlling the controllables. And I think if Hearts do that, then they're the team to certainly beat.
100%. I mean, if they win all their games, they win the league. So it's kind of as simple as that. Well, elsewhere, second place Celtic at Dundee United on Sunday. Cammy, that was a big, big win for them over Motherwell. That'll be a huge boost to them going into the game at Tannadice.
Yeah, a massive boost. It was a big game for Celtic last weekend when you looked at it and the timing of it and everything around them. They were the first team out of the top three to go and play, and they had to get the points on the board. And it's always difficult. We know how good Motherwell have been this season. And for me, it was a good game that was end to end for periods. But I felt as if Celtic looked as if they had something back. They created a number of opportunities. They obviously got the penalty and the red card at the right time that allowed them to go and win the game comfortably. But you've got to give them full credit. They got the job done. So I think they'll be going to Tannadice in full confidence. They've had a full week of training as well. Nothing to break them up and disturb them. So the manager, Martin O'Neill, have had time on the training pitch, but also time to rest players as well and give them some days off, because they've had a huge heavy schedule recently. So I really look at it, I think they'll be in good form. Again, speaking about pressure, Celtic know there's pressure there. They're going to have to go and win that game. It won't be easy. It might not be pretty. We know the pitch isn't great up there either, but they just need to get the 3 points and they need to keep moving on.
I wonder as well, Cammy, what you make of the Kasper Schmeichel situation. Obviously, him coming out and basically saying he's been playing on a pretty bad injury for months. Well, first of all, what would you have done in that situation? I mean, he was obviously desperate to play, desperate to prove that he could potentially play at the World Cup if Denmark got there. But I don't know, do you think it was maybe a bit silly for him to have been playing on the injury?
No, again, Charlotte, I've done the exact same. I didn't actually when I made a huge mistake against Motherwell. Everyone will remember that. I had to get an operation pretty much straight after that, and I was out for 6 months with a knee operation. So again, you, as a player, you want to put yourself out there. You feel, as long as you feel as if you can do something for the team to help them win that game of football, you will always put yourself out there if you're that type of character. And listen, Kasper, he's been a brilliant goalkeeper for so many years. And it's just been unfortunate that in that period he's had a few errors, and again, you've got to take hats off to him for his character. He's put himself out there when he's not been 100% fit. Listen, there'll be players out there that as soon as they carry a little niggle, they won't want to play for the team. So I think you've got to give him a lot of credit. It's quite sad the way that it sounds as if it's possibly going to end, that this could be the end of his career, because listen, you're talking about one of the top goalkeepers in the world for a period of time. So it would be sad if this is the way that it ends for Casper, because he's been brilliant over the time for Celtic when you look at his whole time that he's been at the club and not just the last few months. But as I say, I think players, they try and put themselves out there for the team to try and get results, and as I say, full credit to them for doing that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, he sounded pretty focused on getting himself back to play a game at some point, maybe in the next year. So it'll be interesting to see if he manages to do that. But for Celtic, at least, he won't be playing again. They'll have likely Sinisalo in goals against Dundee United, but Joelle, Dundee United will be very keen to put on a performance, particularly after being 2-0 up in the derby, then coming away with a point, conceding 2 really poor late goals. It's just they really need to bounce back, don't they?
Yeah, they really do. I think obviously the way that they conceded the goals, the manner, the timing, everything about it. I've been there, I'm sure Cammy's been there, when you've been on the receiving end of that, it feels like a defeat. You come away so deflated, but in reality you've picked up a point, but you can't see that point through all the kind of other negativity. So for them, they'll definitely be looking for a reaction. However, it's probably not the opposition that they would have liked on the back of that derby defeat, because Celtic are coming back into form. They've had spells in the season where Celtic's been really consistent and really not. But I think this is a spell where they're coming back into form. They're getting players scoring goals. Zhang's scoring goals for them. Vankara scoring goals for them. So I think they'll be looking for a reaction. But for me, I think it's certainly not the opposition that they would have wanted on the back of that really frustrating and disappointing derby result.
No, absolutely not. And elsewhere, Rangers are hosting Aberdeen. Cammy, a win over St Mirren, but it was kind of far from convincing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was a poor game overall, poor quality throughout the game, and again that probably suited St Mirren where they're at the moment. Obviously, their manager leaving and got an interim manager in charge. They would have been just trying to take points from that game, because it's so important where they're sitting in the league. They really are in a relegation battle. So yeah, it wasn't a good game with a huge amount of quality, but Rangers got the job done, and that's what it's all about at this time of the season. Getting 3 points, moving on. You might not be at your best, but make sure you get your 3 points on the board and then move on to the next game. So I think Rangers will be looking forward to being back at Ibrox. I really do. Again, you look at the Hearts result will play a part, and then when they enter the pitch, they'll know what's happened at Tynecastle. So that again could give them an extra edge to have to go and win the game, or again an opportunity that they could get closer to Hearts again. So yeah, I think it's going to be a difficult game because it's an Aberdeen team with a new manager, Stephen Robertson. We all know that he's been to Ibrox the way he's set up before. He's got results there. So yeah, listen, you've got to look at the opposition. They are a different Aberdeen team than they were 2-3 weeks ago. So it will be challenging for Rangers, but one that I certainly think they will get the job done and get all 3 points.
I wonder then, Cammy, what you make of the Aberdeen squad and whether or not they are players capable of a relegation scrap. If they look like a team of players who have the mentality to, as you kind of mentioned about St Mirren against Rangers, just fight for every point.
Yeah, no, I'm concerned for Aberdeen. Certainly am, because the players that they've got at their disposal aren't used to this. They're not used to this end of the table. They're not used to the pressure that comes with having to win games to stay in a league. That's a different pressure from being at the top or trying to get into European football. There's almost a joy at the end of this. There's a relief at the end of staying away from relegation. So this is completely different. Unknown territory for Aberdeen we're in now. So, I think you look at the players that are going to have to step up because these are tough games. They need to go Ibrox and get a result, which is really, really difficult. But Stephen Robinson coming in, I think, gives them hope. I certainly do, because I think he's a manager that can motivate players. And I think that's what the Aberdeen players need, because they've got good players in the building. They just look lack of confidence. Again, they look unsure of what's happening within the whole club at the moment. So they're only 6 points away from that second bottom place. They do not want to be in, because you don't want to be in a relegation playoff, because anything can happen in that game. So, yeah, I fear for them, but I feel with the manager coming in over the next few weeks, we might start to see a different Aberdeen team. But I think Rangers will be too strong at the weekend.
Well, there is plenty going on at the top of the table, but as Cammy was just mentioning, a lot going on at the bottom as well. A real 6-pointer in the relegation dogfight as Livy travel to Killie. Joelle, one of the interesting things from Neil McCann's press conference yesterday, Finlay Curtis, Scotland call-up, Neil McCann coming out yesterday and saying there's no guarantees he's going to start. What did you make of that?
I love it. I do. When I read that, it brought a smile to my face, because I think a young player who's went out on loan and absolutely thrived in that new environment. He's obviously got his rewards for his performances with the Scotland cap, and then is brought back down to life with that comment. And I love it, because that should be the case regardless of what's happening elsewhere. That healthy competition, that reality check, especially for a young player, I think is needed. So, like I said, when I saw that comment, it brought a smile to my face, because, I think Neil McCann's right to praise Curtis and for all that he's done at Kilmarnock, coming in, the performances, the versatility. I think he's played a number of positions, wide left, wide right, right back even. But Neil McCann firmly keeping his feet on the ground, which I love.
Yeah, I mean, I was having a look at his numbers the other day. I mean, it's hard to believe. I think he's only played like 6 games for Killie, Cammy. Just the kind of boost that he seems to have brought to the club seems to be massive.
Massive impact. Again, Kilmarnock have been missing that. Since Danny Armstrong left, he's the player that you look at, and Finlay Curtis reminds you of Danny Armstrong. Very direct. Again, exciting for the fans to watch. I thought he was excellent last weekend. I really did. When I seen him live at the game, I thought everything he done, his touch, his directness, his movement, his work rate, every single element of his game was excellent last weekend. And I've seen that over a period from the TV viewings, that since he's came to Kilmarnock, he's had a huge impact on the club. I was surprised when Rangers let him go, to be honest, but I think it's the best thing for him. He's moved away, he's got games, he's going to play regular. But it's great to hear, as Joelle says, it's great to hear Neil saying that, look, he's not guaranteed of playing. He needs to knuckle down, make sure he's producing that every single week, or he won't be in the team. So there's a demand there. But yeah, I think he's been a real shining light for Kilmarnock, and I think Kilmarnock have turned the corner. I really do. After last weekend, you look at their squad, their togetherness as a team, and the quality that they've got as well. So you've got to see them getting away from this bottom of the table. And again, the weekend is a huge game for them. If they can manage to navigate 3 points through that, then yeah, you've got to see Killie moving forward.
Livy have kind of been the opposite for most of the season. They've certainly turned things around recently. 4 draws on the bounce, but Joelle, they've still not won a game since August. It just kind of feels like single points at the moment, given where they are in the table, is just maybe not going to cut it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Single points at this stage aren't good enough, but I think it is an improvement. I think Marvin Bartley's come in, and I think he had 2 defeats, and then since, like you said, four draws in a row. So it's not what they need. It is an improvement, and I think the next step in that process is getting the 3 points, absolutely getting 3 points. And I think this game at the weekend is is massive for them. If they can take that next step tomorrow and get those 3 points, as I say, it will be massive for them as a club. If they don't, very, very fearful for them, because it just cuts them adrift even further at the bottom of the table there.
And then kind of the flip side of that is if Killie get a result and St Mirren lose to Falkirk, they'll flip in the table, so St Mirren will move into that relegation playoff spot. Do you see St Mirren being capable of getting out of trouble, having the squad? They should potentially, you would have thought, by the split, have a new manager in, but we don't know what's happening on that front. So do you see them being capable of getting out of trouble?
Yeah, I think when you look at the squad, I'm surprised they're in this position, but they are where they are. It's been a strange season, obviously winning the cup, and then the league form's been awful. I mean, there's no getting away from it. It's been really, really poor. But when you look at the players they've got, Mark O'Hara's back, them types of leaders that they need at this moment are going to be key for St Mirren. It's going to be a difficult game away to Falkirk. We all know how good they've been this season. But yeah, overall, I do think they have enough in the building if they can get it right. And getting it right, they need to select the right manager for me. They've got a huge job on their hands. Keith Lasley's got a big decision to make between him and his board, that who they bring in, because the decision they make just now, it's not just about the future. It's about what happens this season, because I think they need a manager that can have a huge impact straight away, and a manager that knows how to get them away from a relegation battle. They might have plans to go and play expansive football. Maybe this isn't the moment to do that. They need to get away from the relegation battle first and foremost, and then reassess the club after that. So it's a big weekend, and it'll be a big weekend. Every weekend will be a big weekend for St Mirren going forward till they get away from it. It's going to be hard at Falkirk, but I think they would take a point just to get them wheels in motion of start to picking up points and getting them on the board.
Your Saturday listening starts with The Saturday Show at 9 o'clock on BBC Radio Scotland, followed by Off the Ball at 12, and Sports Sound starts at 2. It's Off the Ball from 12 o'clock on Sunday, followed by Sports Sound again at 2 o'clock. Let's finally take a look at a massive game in the race for Europe. Joelle, Motherwell, 2 defeats on the bounce. First time this season, maybe their confidence has taken a bit of a knock, do you think?
I don't know, maybe, like you said, the first time this season that it's happened. However, I think James Bertalascu have instilled a kind of mental resilience in his squad. I think he spoke about that quite a lot recently on podcasts and in the media, that kind of mental resilience is massive for him, and I think he's installed it in the squad. So yeah, it's a little bit of a wobble for them. However, I don't think it's will be a weakness going into the weekend's game. I think they'll be back on top. They'll be back on form. They've obviously got the players to kind of turn this short term drop in form around, and Maswanishi, you could go through the whole squad, Charlotte. They've been a team who's been very impressive, but a team with individuals who have really, really stood out this season. So yeah, a drop in their form, but they've got the quality in the players, and certainly the mentality and the manager to turn up tomorrow in the frame of mind that we've seen for large parts across this season already.
And Cammy, this will be interesting for Hibs because they've had a relatively decent season. We've talked before about it maybe being masked by how well their city rivals Hearts are doing, but I suppose that they've kind of not really been able to just put teams away and finish games off this season.
No, they've not. And again, there's been results when David Gray looks back at the season that he'll be really disappointed with in moments. They've had really good spells, but then there's individual results. And I would probably point to the one last weekend, and you look at that's another missed opportunity to get closer to Motherwell. This is an opportunity to this weekend to get closer to Motherwell. So can they take it? And then there's the big push in the after the once the split comes, can they get above Motherwell? Can they put some sort of run together to get themselves up a place in the league? So there's still opportunities there for Hibs. But I think when you look at Hibs' season, there's always been a point I've looked at that and results that come in and think that's been a missed opportunity for Hibs. And then they'll go and put 2 or 3 great results together. So it's been a little bit of a strange season, because I really do think when you look back, there's games that you're surprised at. And last weekend was one that I was very surprised at. Take nothing away from Livingston, they defended well for periods, but that's one that Hibs need to go and win. So another opportunity for David Gray to go and get his team on the pitch to get 3 points. And if they do that, they can put pressure on this Motherwell side.
That's the thing, isn't it, Joelle? I mean, Hibs can look at Motherwell and think they've dropped points in the last 2 games. This is a real opportunity for us. Maybe one that they potentially didn't think they would have to cut the gap to Motherwell.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Cammy hit the nail on the head. I think what he said, that's been Hibs' season, the inconsistencies, the games where there's been an expectation of 3 points, and games where there's not. Look at the Celtic game, for example. Probably didn't expect, but we came away with the 3 points there. Didn't build on it. We lose the late goal against Dundee to draw. We host Livingston last weekend, and without being disrespectful, there was an expectation there to pick up the 3 points. So a potential 6-pointer in those 2 games, Dundee and Livingston, turns to 2. Leading into this one, you take the 6, you come into this one buoyant on the back of Motherwell kind of lacking that form that we've seen them consistently all season, and it just changes the picture, changes the league dramatically. So the inconsistencies in Hibs' season, I can imagine for David Gray, has been extremely frustrating, because they could have been coming into this one tomorrow in a completely different place, with the 3 points meaning more than they currently do at the moment, in terms of kind of changing the picture within the league.
Well, in the Championship tonight, Partick Thistle host league leaders St Johnstone. Cammy, if Thistle win, the gap to the top would be 5 points, and they'd still have a game in hand. It's just they must be looking at this game thinking, we need all 3 points here.
Yeah, it's getting to that stage of the season that you do need to win this game. You look at both sides, though. I think you look at St Johnstone, that they'll think if they win tonight, they almost put it to bed. They won't come out and say that, but just the gap becomes too big. So yeah, for me, looking at Partick, this is last chance opportunity to go up automatically. And they'll give it a go, because they've been good for long periods this season. They've done really well. Probably, again, looking at results, there's 1 or 2 results that Matt Wilson will be disappointed with, it. They're not closer to St Johnstone. But again, this presents a real opportunity tonight. What a game it's going to be. It's going to be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. 2 top teams, and just shows you how good the quality is in the Championship as well when you watch what's on show tonight. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's a defining moment for both teams this season.
You can watch Partick Thistle v St Johnstone on the BBC Scotland channel from 7:30 tonight. Right, to finish up, quick fire prediction questions. Ideally, keep the answers short. I would say 1 word, but you're probably going to need more than 1 word for a few of them. Start with you, Joelle. First question, what tie is going to be the coupon buster this weekend, do you think?
I'm going Rangers Aberdeen.
Okay. Cammy, same to you.
I'm going to go at Tynecastle. I think it'll be a draw.
Okay. Joelle, where is it going to kick off this weekend?
I think Tynecastle.
Cammy?
I'm going to say Rangers Aberdeen.
Okay, Joelle, who is going to be top of the league come Monday morning?
Hearts.
Cammy?
Hearts.
Okay. Joelle, which team is making the headlines on Sunday night?
Aberdeen.
Cammy?
I'm going to say Dundee.
Okay. And finally, Joelle, who, player, manager, referee, is going to be making the headlines this weekend?
Simon Murray.
Cammy?
I'm going to go Finlay Curtis after the week he's had.
Nice one. Excellent. Some good answers in there. Well, that is all we've got time for. Many thanks to Joelle and Cammy, and thank you for listening. Remember, we are here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast bright and early every day, so make sure you don't miss out. Subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on in your phone. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll catch you again very soon.
On BBC Sounds. From life aboard a Russian submarine to chairman of Hearts Football Club.
At this stage, he was the hero.
But as his controversial decisions escalated,
They said, we're going to sack George. And I'm going, you can't do this.
how did Vladimir Romanov go from Hearts saviour to a wanted man?
They caused a whole load of chaos and havoc.
Romanov, Tsar of Hearts. Listen now on BBC Sounds.